Hi, it's Mark Bossert from Top Local Lead Generation. We're here with Lena from urLoan. We're going to be talking about alternative sources of income and how that can help your credit score and help you get out of some problems you might have gotten yourself into. How are you doing today, Lena?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking.
So why should people look for an alternative source of income?
Well, there's lots of different reasons, and one of the main reasons that we always recommend is that alternative sources of income help you pay down your debts faster. So for clients that come to us here at urLoan, we always recommend that they make extra payments towards their loan so that they can eventually save on the cost of borrowing. So a little extra payment here and there really goes a long way to reduce the principal that eventually reduces the amount of interest that they pay over time. But certainly people can use their alternative source of income to pay down other debts that they might have. So other credit cards that they might have, or maybe student loan, with the goal ultimately being of living a debt-free lifestyle. But beyond that, there's also other reasons. Certainly kind of job loss proofing your life is one main reason. So these days, a lot of times, people's jobs are not as secure as they used to be. Even if you're a salaried worker, you might be downsized, or if you're an hourly worker, your hours might be decreased to where you might not be making what you once were. And so having that alternative source of income really buffers you against that, both financially and psychologically. So when people lose their job, there's actually a big psychological shift that goes on as well. And just knowing that you have at least some money coming in is really a big help when overcoming that. And finally, there's a third reason, and this is something I think a lot of people underestimate, is that when you're pursuing an alternative source of income, you're also opening up yourself to, perhaps learning a new skill or joining a new community, meeting new people, and this is something that could benefit you not only financially, but just as a person in general. So there's definitely a lot of reasons why somebody might want to look for an alternative source of income outside of their income from their primary source of employment.
So what are the important things that people should consider when they're deciding whether they should pursue or actually start looking for an alternative source of income?
Certainly, there's a lot of things to think about when pursuing any new project. So one of the main things that I encourage people to really think about is first and foremost the amount of time that they have to devote to this particular project. So considering whether you're a salaried worker and you're working 9 to 5, you've got your evenings and your weekends free, or maybe you're an hourly worker and you've got some flexibility in your schedule. Considering realistically how much time you have to devote to this new project is really important, both in terms of the time that's available, but also the time that you could realistically devote to it, meaning you have to consider your existing social responsibilities and work responsibilities before committing to something. The second thing to consider is really your personality and what kind of skills and interests you have, whether there's sort of a demand for them, whether this new project is going to require any kind of financial investment. So maybe you might need to purchase some equipment or pursue further certification or education to be able to make this lucrative. And another thing to really consider is the demand. So considering where you are geographically and the social networks that are available to you, what kind of services and products is there a demand for? What could you potentially make money off of? And of course, the final thing to consider is how are you going to promote this? So how are you going to let people know that you're now offering this product or service? Are you going to reach out to people on social networks? Are you going to start a website? Are you simply going to hang posters around in your neighborhood? In some cases, that's enough. But certainly giving some thought to how you're going to promote this new product or service is quite important as well when you're considering the time that you need to invest in this particular project for it to be lucrative.
So what would you say are some of the potential dangers of pursuing alternative income streams?
Certainly, nothing's risk-free. There are certain dangers associated with it as well. So first off, whenever people start looking for alternative sources of income, what do? They go on Google and they Google alternative sources of income. And even the most cursory Google search will render hundreds of results that promise a quick payout with very little initial investment and very little effort. And upon further research, people might find that these websites are asking for personal information and maybe asking for a fee to join a mailing list. In many cases, these websites might be fraudulent, and you might actually incur a financial cost associated with joining this type of program. So it's really important to do your research. So many people contact us here at urLoan. We're an online service, and they're a little bit suspicious about us, and they ask us questions about whether or not we're a real company, whether it's safe to provide their details, and I, of course, assure them that we are, and I let them know that they're safe to share their personal details with us, but I always commend them on the fact that they've done their research and they're really aware that these scams are out there. And in fact, on our Facebook website, we also have like a list of websites that our clients have come through to us, letting us know that they've been scammed by them. We're really grateful for that as well. But certainly, when you're pursuing alternative sources of income, the first thing to watch out for is online scams. The internet is sort of rife with them. But beyond that, there's some additional things to watch out for. So, over-investing initially in a project that you think is going to be really lucrative. So perhaps purchasing a really expensive piece of equipment or pursuing a really expensive certificate and sort of overestimating how lucrative this business idea is going to be. That's a potential danger as well, because that might affect your monthly budget. And it might affect other things in your life. And certainly overestimating the amount of time that you have to devote to it. That's something that might affect your performance at your job. It might affect your existing relationships and well-being if you kind of shift all your energy all at once to this marginal kind of project in your life. So that's definitely something to keep track of, to really keep a good balance and really keep track of all the existing responsibilities before pursuing an alternative source of income.
So what are some ideas that people could explore?
There's lots of ideas out there, and ultimately what people end up pursuing for their alternative source of income is really going to boil down to the time that they have to devote to this project. That's really going to be the main constraint. And then going from there, it's really going to boil down to who they are as people. So in terms of your personality, your interests, your education, really making use of all of these different things and deciding. So for example, if you happen to be business-minded and you're really into that kind of thing, you might think about maybe paid focus groups by different businesses and getting into that. Some of those pay, $50 to $70 for an hour and a half of your time for an evening, and sometimes they give out free products as well with that. So maybe researching some of the bigger companies are doing in terms of market research, and maybe joining a group that does that. Paid surveys, I know that's one to definitely watch out for in terms of scams, but there are some paid surveys out there, or mailing lists where they would mail you some products that you would test out and answer questions around. Maybe if you're a creative person, you might think about marketing your art or selling it on eBay or on websites that are specific to the visual arts like Etsy, or maybe even selling your wares at a garage sale or to friends and family, or maybe teaching that skill to maybe children or adults who are wanting to learn it. If you happen to be somebody who's very social, you may wish to think about things like childcare or elder care or even pet care. I had a friend at my at another employer who him and his partner had started kind of walking dogs around the neighborhood. They always loved pets. They had been employed in a pet food store, and they always loved the idea of caring for animals, and so they sort of just started walking some pets around the neighborhood, and just getting income here and there. And then when they both got downsized from the company that they were working for, they were actually able to scale that up, and ended up pursuing a certificate in pet CPR, and made their services available to people that are leaving town but couldn't give up their pet to like a pet hotel, and they wanted their pets cared inside their homes. And if they had any medications to administer, they were then able to do that. So that's a really good example of how something can be scalable. So starting small, and then as the demand goes up, kind of scaling up your efforts, and watching it grow. That's the really fun part about it, is watching it grow down the line. If you're academically minded, you might consider something like tutoring. If you're a student, maybe selling your notes, or even joining an organization that matches you up with someone who needs tutoring. I know at my university, UBC, there was an opportunity for students to sign up to get paid to go to a class with a student with visual impairments and take notes for them. And it's only really a 3-hour commitment per week, but it pays about between $300 to $500 per semester, which doesn't sound like a lot of money, but can really add up. And in the process, you can make a new friend, which is always a bonus as well. If you happen to live in an area where there's a lot of international students, you might think about tutoring English if you're so inclined, or even doing so from Skype. There's lots of different websites that use Skype tutoring, and you can set your own rates in a lot of cases. So as you get better and better, you can charge more, and of course start getting regulars. And those are just some ideas. Again, it's really going to depend on who you are as a person, your prior experiences, and how much time you have to devote to it.
Those are awesome examples, and other places that people might be able to dip their toe in or get more ideas from is like Fiverr.com. A lot of people offer their services there as an initial thing to get some experience and get your confidence level up, and then charge more later. Or there's Amazon Mechanical Turk.
That's
There's
right.
also microworkers.com, which is another place. And these don't really necessarily pay a ton of money, but if you get an idea from there that you can then, like you said, branch out and make bigger, like your dog walking analogy, which was awesome. That's the kind of stuff. There's immense opportunities to add, given what your skill set and what your time frame is.
Absolutely, and the thing to remember is that initially these things aren't going to offer a huge payout, but over time you might find that something that is a $2 a week idea becomes a $10 a week idea, becomes maybe a $100 a week idea, and that's nothing to sneer at. Something that starts small could eventually snowball, and it might become a bigger and bigger part of your financial life, and also of your social life as well. That's something that is something people underestimate when they're thinking about alternative sources of income. They only think about just the income that they're getting, but actually you might be getting much more.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Lena. We've been talking with Lena from urLoan.com. If you want some help with your finances, these are some good folks to call. urLoan.com. You can call them at 1-855-723-5626. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.